help each other in what? Like doing good, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah.
But what is good, right? Like, for example, if somebody helps people get abortions, are they helping in good or bad? It's perspective, right?
Yeah.
It's not objective, it's subjective. So we as Muslims believe that there is a divine good, like like our Creator made us. For example, you have an iPhone, right?
Yeah.
So do I, right? So if I told you this phone developed by itself, like there was no Steve Jobs, no factory in Japan or China, or no programmers, just by itself, it evolved. From grains of sand, it just became a phone. Would you believe me? Right? You wouldn't, right? Why not?
Because it's impossible.
Why? Billions of years, grains of sand, they randomly mutated and became iPhone 1, and then on its own it became a 2, 3, 4, until I think it's a 16 now or something like that. You wouldn't believe that, right? Why? Because when you look at your phone, it recognizes you. Like, that's functionality, right? When you say, "Hey Siri," it listens, right? You have apps, you have a camera, it sees, right? It has a mic, it hears, right? But think about it, you are more complex than that phone. Your eyes recognize better than the iPhone.
Yeah.
Your brain is smarter than Siri. Sorry, Siri, right? She listens, yeah, right? You have ears better than a mic, right? You have a like if I take this right now and drop it on the cement, it's not going to heal itself. But when you get cut, without you even trying, there's white blood cells that start healing you, right? So you think that, you don't think there's a creator? Like, what makes more sense? That something more complex than the phone just came by itself? Or that, just like you said, it doesn't make sense the phone created itself, it doesn't make sense that the human created ourselves? Right?
It's hard, but I'm just trying to figure
But what do you think though, right? Like, think about this, right? Like, you breathe in oxygen and you put out carbon dioxide. Plants, they take in carbon dioxide, they put out oxygen. Well, who programmed that? Could it just happen on its own? Like everything's a coincidence?
It could be.
It could be. So then why couldn't it be that this came by itself? You see, immediately when I first asked you, did this come by itself? You said, no way.
Yeah.
Right? Because this is, as Shima knows, it's called fitra. Inside of you, you know that that doesn't make sense. And you know that if a phone can't come by itself, then this universe couldn't come by itself. Because it's way more complex than a phone.
Yeah.
Right? Everything has a shared DNA, right? Like every living cell, me, you're a woman, I'm a man, animals, you know, they have DNA that's shared. Even humans and bananas share 50% of our DNA. So who was the one that programmed that DNA? You see, the single source, the creator signature is there in us. That makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Let me tell you something else. I don't want to take up too much of your time. Whenever you have to go, I mean, there's no pressure here, right? This is the Quran,
Yeah.
which you have as well, right? So the Quran, as she can explain to you in great detail, was revealed to the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, in a desert more than 1400 years ago, almost 1500 years ago in the Arabian desert, right? In the Quran, it tells us, this is in Surah Al-Anbiya, in the 33rd verse, and it is He who created the night and the day, the sun and the moon, and all heavenly bodies in an orbit are swimming. Right? Now think about that. The fact that all the heavenly bodies, how you doing? If you want any information, it's free.
Thank you.
So all the heavenly bodies, the moon, the sun, the earth, all the planets, they have an orbit, right? But we know that today because of technology.
Yeah.
How did a man in a desert, almost 1500 years ago, with no scientific training, no telescopes, no Hubble telescope, no satellites, know about, like the orbit of the moon is not it going across the sky. That's the orbiting of the earth, right? The orbit of the moon is around the earth. But you could say maybe he looked at the seasons, right? But what about the sun? The sun's orbit is so slow, it is impossible to see with the human eye. Even we, as technologically advanced human beings, as we think we are today, until Hubble telescopes and things went into the space atmosphere and were able to detect the slowest of orbit of the sun around the center of the galaxy, we didn't know it. So how would a man 1500 years ago know it? Right? Has to be some kind of divine, right?
Yeah.
Maybe he guessed. Right? I'm open to skepticism, right? But then we look at, in the Quran, it says, and certainly we did create man from exact of clay, right? And this is in the surah called Mu'minun. You can look all these verses up yourself later, yeah? And it says, then we made the sperm drop into a clinging clot. And then we made the clot into a lump. And then we made from the lump bones. And then we covered the bone with flesh, right? Now this is the development of the embryo inside the womb of the mother, right? Now this, without ultrascans, without MRI machines, without being able, how can you, like, I can't tell what you had for dinner, right? I cannot see inside you, right? But how would the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, that long ago know how the embryo develops, that it becomes a clinging clot that clings to the side of the womb? Like, I work in medical devices, right? We know this because we can now take an ultrasound machine and see it. But when you don't have any of that technology, when it wasn't even available, how would he know that? Right? So, putting all that together, right? Just what makes sense? Does it just make sense that everything just came by itself and this perfect balance that nature is in with animals and humans and plants and the environment and oxygen and how perfectly the earth is around the sun and how all of the universe is in a perfect balance and how everything's made with the same DNA and living cells, all of that just came by itself? Or does it make more sense that there is an intelligent design, that there is a great creator?
I understand what you're saying.
Good.
But don't you guys believe like evolutions?
I believe in adaptation, evolution in the sense that creatures adapt to their environment. But evolution meaning that monkeys or apes or primates became humans, I don't believe in that because it's not scientifically proven, right? I work in the medical division. What do you do for a living? Are you?
I'm a student.
Okay, what are you studying?
Studying business management.
Okay, business management, cool. So, have you studied evolution in school?
Yeah, especially I was in Japan.
Okay,
They
good.
told me, you know.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm from the US and they push it on us too, right?
Yeah.
But think about it. What do they tell you? How did we evolve? Where did we come from? A primate, right? Can we test that in a scientific environment? Can we take a primate today and watch him evolve? We cannot, right? So it's not a scientific fact. It's not something we can actually test in a controlled environment. It's a theory. In science, anybody can come up with a theory. Darwin, for example, you know Darwin, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Darwin, you can look up his writings. He felt that certain races were more evolved and superior to others. Would you believe that today?
I don't want to believe it.
Right?
Yeah.
So I mean, you're basing this idea of evolution based on a man who was a racist. Darwin wrote that men are superior to women because they're more evolved. Would you believe that today?
I don't want to believe it.
Right? So why would you base an idea on a man whose core concepts were wrong? In fact, Darwinian evolution has been proven to be wrong today. They've tweaked his idea. But his idea was random mutation. I studied it, right? So what does it mean, random mutation? That means that he thought that everybody, every bird, every human, every creature was randomly mutating, right? But just think, you know, there's about 8 billion people in the world today, right? You've traveled, I'm sure, you've been to Japan, you've been to the US, I'm sure you've been to other places, you've been to Saudi, right? Have you seen anybody with claws, like a human with like claws? Have you seen a human with like feathers and wings?
No.
So where's the random mutation? You know how many eyes spiders have? Usually 8 eyes, right? That's 8 eyes. How many eyes do humans have? 2 eyes. Have you ever seen a human with 8 eyes that randomly evolved? That would be cool though, right? Like if you had 2 eyes back here, couple on the side. How cool would that be, right? Like how much more, like if you're in danger, you could use your back eyes, right? But we don't see that. Every human has 2 eyes, unless somebody pokes one out, right? Every human has a mouth and 2 ears, yeah? So it's not random. It is by design, right? So this is why the theory of evolution, adaptation to your environment, I have no issue with. If you're from an environment with more sun, you're going to have darker skin. If you're from an environment with less sun, you're going to have lighter skin. That's fine. But that doesn't mean we came from monkeys. This is a jump they make, right? We believe there's a great creator who created humans and animals, and then he gives them whatever they need to adapt to their environment. Make sense?
Yeah.
It does make sense, right? Good. Read up, and you have a friend that knows a lot. So if you have questions, you have the card as well. She has it. All right? So ask more questions, yeah?
أحسن
Have a great
قولا ممن دعا إلى الله وعمل صالحا وقال إنني من المسلمين